my name is Bonnie Keeler. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota, where I work at the Humphrey School of Public Affairs, and I'm the co-director of the CREATE initiative. And the CREATE initiative is a research and education project based at the University of Minnesota that has both an education component. We supervise a graduate training program. We do research with communities, and we do a lot of outreach and engagement. And the focus of our work has been on aligning the intersection between environmental and social justice, working with communities in urban watersheds in the Twin Cities and elsewhere in the United States, especially around issues of gentrification associated with the development of green amenities and green infrastructure. Collaboration has been at the heart of everything that we've done with the CREATE initiative, and part of it was to think about what a different model of doing academic scholarship looks like, one that actually takes collaboration really seriously and thinks about the fact that most of the urgent questions around the issues we're concerned with, environmental and social justice, are really better defined and articulated and experienced by communities outside of the university. And so collaboration for us meant thinking about a model of a project that really resourced community members to be the ones to articulate what are the research questions that matter most to them, what are the issues that they're facing, and then to realign our mission as a research institution and a research and education project to really fill those gaps, to resource those community members. So I think for us it means building relationships. I mean, relationships is key to collaboration. And then it also meant a willingness to be transformed by the needs of community members. And so the ideas that we had going into the project really changed as we started to focus on the development of those collaborations. And the work that we're doing now is very different than what we thought we would be doing. But we had this desire to meet community members where they were, and that meant for us collaboration was really realigning our efforts around the needs of community members as they articulated them. We've been thinking about the historical context of how the environmental movement has intersected with communities in areas around the US and in Minneapolis in particular, and why investments in the environment have built wealth for some communities and not for others. And so we've been thinking about the distribution of those environmental benefits and burdens across different communities. And now as we think about how we make investments going forward, and recognizing that there's a movement in a lot of cities to invest in climate resilience and green infrastructure and parks, and those are all really important parts of quality of life in cities, but their distribution of those amenities can have very different impacts in different communities, especially because our cities are so highly unequal right now. And so what we've heard from community members is that attempts to adjust remediate some of those past injustices are actually leading to a new set of threats for communities related to gentrification and displacement. And so a lot of our work has been trying to understand that dynamic and figure out ways to disrupt it so that communities can actually benefit from the wealth generation opportunities associated with green investments and not just feel like those lead to displacement and gentrification. We just launched a policy toolkit in February called Sharing in the Benefits of a Greening City. And this describes policy approaches, tools for community engagement and community wealth building that communities and cities and parks organizations can advocate for to try and disrupt cycles of gentrification and displacement. So we're really proud of the toolkit. It describes things like community benefits agreements, inclusionary zoning. We review case studies across the US where communities have tried to implement these kinds of policies in response to green interventions. And we've been overwhelmed by just the positive reception of the toolkit. And it's been really fun over the last couple of months to see how it's starting to play out in policy and practice. The long-term impact of any project is really measured by the relationships that they build and sustain and the conversations that they start. And so that's what we're really looking forward to, is to be part of that conversation going forward. And I think we've already seen evidence that some of our work is starting to change the way that people are talking about issues of gentrification within Minneapolis. I think there's a lot more work to do, but the work that we've done so far is making sure that that issue is on the table when green investments are discussed, and also drawing better connections to the work of environmental and conservation organizations who may not see their role in something like gentrification, but are now have a set of tools and language to really understand the role that they play as they intersect with housing, in addition to just thinking about the natural elements of their work. We're very open to expanding the network of people that we're working with, and would love for people to reach out if our work can be useful or is interesting to people. And our website has tons of information on how to connect, and that's at create.umn.edu.